Okay, I think we're live. Not 100% sure, but here I am in the corner. If you can see me, I'd appreciate a comment just so I know that something's happening. But checking my phone here, I'm not sure I'm able to find myself. It's my first live stream, so I appreciate the patience. So let's see. Let me. Is that? Why is that not? Okay. That's going out. There we go. Okay. I think, yeah, there's a bit of a delay, so it's working now. So, I'm Todd Rains. You're in my shop. I'm live streaming here today, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to do a little piston box turning, and we'll see how this goes. Let's see, capture top mono screen. Okay, I'm learning how to use the YouTube Studio live stream and vMix and all the good things at the same time. So let me change cameras here. So we'll take this away. Oops, not that one. This one away. Change to camera 2. So I've got a piece that looks like mahogany on here. I've turned it round. We're going to be making a piston box, and I don't have one here to show you, but I do have pictures. So piston box is basically a sealed box, and let me throw up a picture of what we're going to be doing today. So this is a typical box. It's out of mahogany as well, probably the same stick from years ago. And you pull it apart, and you've got a little box in there. So oh, you know what I should do? I should record this as well. So let me do that right now. Bear with me a second. I think that'll work. Record. And what the heck, I'll record here locally as well. Okay, again, my name is Todd Rains, and I am live streaming right now. And oh, you're watching me. Thank you. My wife brought one in for me, so she's been watching me out there, so that's good. So let me show you this. I'll do a full overlay here, and you'll see I've got this one here. It's a little castle box I made. So you open it up, and you got a little box there. So put trinkets and stuff in there, and close it back up. So that's another style. That's this one here. Let's see. Oh, there's the butterfly. Let me get little again here. So there's the butterfly box. It's the same style. You open it up, and you got a little box. And here's the castle one. You just saw me hold up. So thanks, Shelley, for bringing that in. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do. It's fairly easy to follow along. I first saw this a project on a AEW magazine. Walt Wager, I think, wrote an article about this 2015, 2014, somewhere in there. So we will attempt to make one for like that other one we saw. So the nice thing is a great canvas for design. So you can do burning on it. You can make fancy ends. You can turn it how you want. So, and then we'll show you how we make the whole process. So let's get started. So I've got this already turned round. What we need to do next is to kind of face off this end and drill. So the other thing about this project, it's fairly easy to do. There's not any physical hollowing other than drilling. So let's give that a go. So I'll use my skew, and we'll just face off this end. So let me just move this in a little bit. Should be good. we go. We've got, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. I'll move myself to the other side, get out of the way. So we'll go right off the end here using the toe of the skew. Oops, there we are. And we're going to dive that into the cut and clean up this end. Too big of a cut. There we go. Good enough. All we're trying to do is clean up the end surface of the box. It's basically going to be this end here, this rim right around here. So that's the only thing we really need to clean off. The rest is going to get drilled out. So first, we're going to take the tailstock away. You'll see, I'm going to do camera 3, you can see the end view there, so we've got a dimple there, so we want to clean that off. So I'm going to support it and try and get that last little bit off. And then just, that dimple is good enough. What I like to have is a nice dimple in there for the drill bit to sit into. So the first drill, and the way we're going to do this is the first drill bit is going to be a 1 1/8 inch bit, and then we'll follow up on the other side of the box with a 1 1/4. So let me just verify something here for a second. I think this is the one. That's not the one. It's 1 1/4. I think that'll work. Just trying to find my little gauge so that I can make the outside the right size. Get that drill bit in there, and we're going to drill to a depth of approximately, lost my little ruler. There it is. Approximately 2.5 inches. So if we measure that, that's going to be right up to the hilt is about 2 1/4. So that's close enough. We'll get that there. Turn the lathe speed down a little bit, and we'll let that just get started slowly. There we go. Done that side of the drilling, so now next step is we actually want to change bits right now, because what we want to do is to mark, remember these, once you drill with them they get hot, so grab down here, not up there, it's going to be hot up there. Put in the 1 1/4 bit, the bigger sized one, and all we're going to do is kind of mark the rim here with the size. We're not going to drill really, but we're just going to mark it. Maybe just a bit more. And what that does for us, let me take this out. Is that gives us the depth of this cut to make. So in other words, we have just drilled this hole and we've just marked this diameter. So that's what we got to do next. We got to cut all this wood away down to depth and make this cylinder here. So let's just measure again, and let's see how far we are, how deep we are. We'll go millimeters, we're 60. So that's the depth of our hole. Now we want to cut the depth to that. How's this working? Yeah, no deeper than that. So, is that right, or the other way? I'm trying to think this through. So this, I haven't done one of these in about a year, so we're trying to figure out how deep this should go, and it looks to be about even. So I think we're in no fear of going through, because that's not what we intend to do. So we just mark this here. Need my other pencil, which I don't have. Let's turn it on and mark it that way. Go back to the overhead. So now what we got to do is we got to cut all this wood away to this diameter. So 1 1/4 inch bit. I've made this gauge fit that, so we gotta cut all this wood away to that depth. So we will put back the keep bouncing back and forth on you, sorry about that. Put back the steady rest. Yeah, we'll just tighten that up a little bit. And I didn't get my one tool. Yep. So I'm going to use a beating and parting tool to take most of this wood away, and should be okay. So I'm going to start here at the end here, because that's really going to tell me. So what I'm doing is just peeling away the excess wood and getting it out of the way down to an estimated depth. So if we stop this for a second and we take a look, I'll clear these off and give you a bit better image. If we take a look at this area, we are not quite, I'm going to back this off a little bit. Not quite deep enough. What we can do, no, that's not going to work yet. Eventually we'll leave that in there, and we will be able to true that up. So I'm going to switch to a skinnier parting tool just to get a narrower cut there. And I'm just going ever so slowly till I get down to that depth. See where that's at. And that just fits over that end. And so we're going to end up with, we use a 1 1/8 inch bit and a 1 1/4 inch bit, which is an 1/8 inch difference, but split across two sides. It's a 16th inch wall thickness we're looking for. So we're getting close there, so I am going to repeat that cut. Just do that very gently. The tailstock has to be brought up gently so we don't crush the 1/16 inch wall. And I can hear it cracking. I may have gone too thin here. We will see. Yeah, a little thin, a little thin. So let's leave that on there. And we will work on the next section. You just want to push that ring, that gauge, up to that edge to see if we can get onto that next section. I'm basically just scraping. So there it goes over. So now that section's good. So we'll move on to the next section. I'm looking down at the line here to see how horizontal it is, and that helps me gauge whether I can get that over and back that off. So let me zoom in a bit more. Can't really see it on camera, but I mean the end of it, but you don't really need to see the end. Cutting right here. I'm just kind of keeping the tool parallel, sliding it back and forth until that section is just smoothed out with the previous section. A little tight right in here. Bounce that back. And we just keep going. I'm kind of scraping with this tool, even though it's really meant for cutting, but a nice sharp tool can scrape just as well. It still needs to be a little thinner right in here. Put this, you can kind of see. Widen that out a little bit. This is the only finicky part of it, is just kind of doing this part, but otherwise the hollowing is pretty much done. But what we need is this to be smooth and shallow enough. I'll just turn it off for a second. Smooth and shallow enough that we can fit this gauge all the way down. I mean thin enough, because when we drill the 1 1/4 inch hole in the other piece, then that's got to slide over top. So a little bit more over here. Stuck right there. We're stuck right there. I wonder if a light, maybe, got this little snake light over here. Will help lighten up the interface. So we're pretty close. A little stuck right there. And we're good all the way. So there we go. So the one thing we want to do is we want to make sure that when this box piece comes together, here and here, that we don't really see a seam. In this case, it's a groove, but in other cases, we want a nice tight seal there. So I'm going to use a skew and clean off this face here. So I'm going to go to camera 3, and you'll see me face this edge off here. Oops, not the right tool. There we go. And we're going to make a cut. I'm going to leave that in place. That'll work. Okay. So when I make this cut, right now it's kind of straight up and down. Right now it's about straight up and down, but I want to cut it in a little bit so that it's undercut. And we get the toe on that face, and we kind of face it into that corner. We clean up that corner down there. I don't think I did a very good job. Yeah, that's not good at all. So let's do it again. That's better. Okay. This is getting very I got to take a little bit off that end there. Very thin down here, so I can hear it creaking as I tighten things up. So let me do one. There we go. And that's our inside of the box done. So the next step is to kind of see what sort of design you want to have on your top of your box. So if we look at some of these other pictures, you know, see I've got a bead sort of, you know, domed top on that one. This one I put more of a square top. That was one thing I found with this one is I couldn't stand it up, so I couldn't put it on a table like this, you know, and stand it up. So so when I did this one, I undercut those ends so it could stand up on either side. So that's some design considerations to think about. So and then of course I did the burning on this one. You can see the box there standing up in that picture. So so those are design considerations you want to make for when you're cutting this part. What we'll do is we'll part this off. We can do a little bit of design here. So if we leave the you know, the lid section of this part about 3/4 of an inch, that's essentially this part here. So that's what we'll kind of do, and then we'll part that off, and you'll see how we mount that in a minute. Let's put that away. Done with our little ring template. Keep that for the next box. Yeah, we'll just cut this. So I'm just going to mark that with a skew, and I will put this up again very gently. Lock that off. And my mark is about there, a little bit bigger. Just making V cuts. Kind of marking that top. And we'll have time to, we'll have an opportunity to design this top end when we turn it around. So I just wanted to clear a path and just kind of part this off. So I'll cut down to, oh shit, no, okay, something I'm learning. I'll cut down to, oops, oh, too close. Probably about a 1/4 inch. I'll pull the tailstock away, and then I'll cut it off and let it drop in my hand. So, I don't know if I see any live chat. I'm not sure if I've got the setting right or not, but I'll just say hi. And see if that shows up. Yeah, okay. Oh, Rashada Shali, hi. Okay, hi. And then continue cutting. Okay, pull this away. And I am going to move a couple of things. I rest my elbow on top of the, let me widen this out, you can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit. I rest my elbow on top of the tool rest, put my hand on the back side, and come in. And part that off and it just drops in the hand. So that's the top of our box, or the inside, however you want to look at it. So we'll set that aside for a second, and I'll put that over here. And what we have to do is clean up this end and get it prepped for drilling. So let's see. So let's mark this end. I'll just use this. Get a little dimple in there. Put a little dimple right in the end there. That'll be for the next drill bit, which is the 1 1/4. And move that out of the way. Clean some of these off. Take out the live center out of the tailstock end and throw in the drill bit with the 1 1/4 inch drill. I gotta tighten this up because I don't know if I did. And this we have to drill. Let's see, is that gonna clear? Okay, we have to drill this guy at least as deep as this guy, right? Because we want it to go inside. We'll put an end cap on here in a minute. With the rest of this material, we'll make a lid and a jam chuck and all kinds of stuff. So you do need a piece that's probably 2 inches longer than your desired box length. So that, or at least 1.5 inches. So you have room to create a plug for this guy, a jam chuck for the other piece, and be able to part it off. So, so we want this to be. Keep looking for my pencil. I don't know. That's bad. You know, every once in a while I lose pencils, and at Christmas my daughter bought me a bunch of mechanical pencils, and I got them all over the shop, but you still lose them. So we have to go that deep. So as a matter of fact, we have to go this deep from here, the end of the drill bit, to the end of the box, which is right there. So we'll be good. We'll take this right up to the hilt, and we'll have a little bit of room to spare. So yeah, that's that. Let me bring this in a little bit. There we go. And we'll go to camera 3, and we'll turn this on. Turn the speed down to about 1,000. It's typically between 700 and 1,000 is where I drill. So, and again, tighten the tailstock down and let that first part of the drill bit enter, and then slowly bring up the drill. Let it sit there and cut a little bit till the teeth get sort of engaged and cutting. And you can kind of hear some sound. And we'll start drilling. As long as the shavings are coming out, I'm okay. Once they stop coming out, like about here, I've got to back off and clear the chips. The deeper you go, the more often you have to clean chips. This will get hot. You could use a bit of wax, and that'll prevent a little bit of squealing and sticking with the wood. This mahogany is soft enough, it's not really an issue. But if you're doing maple or something like that, it'll get squealy, or any other hardwood, and so wax helps. And we're about there. So there we go. So this is where we will see that this guy fits in there. We don't bottom out, so that's good. So now, looking at my notes, we've so I want to drill, sand the inside and outside if desired, so we can make whatever shape we want here. Let's just check this mark. So that's going to go there. So this is really the end of the inside of the cylinder, this little mark here. So whatever we want to do here for the next, 3/4 of an inch, and we kind of make an equal top, then that's what we can do. So let's first of all clean off this end. We can make some sort of design. I might just leave this a cylinder, and I may end up burning and coloring this one a little bit. So first of all, let's just clean up this end. There we go. Let's get this out of here. This is rewinding the tailstock, and it's fun. Okay, it's almost there. There we go. Get that out of there so we don't hurt ourselves on that that pointy bit. So I'm going to use a little spindle gouge, and I'm just going to clean up the ends here. And again, I want to kind of undercut, which means it's straight up and down now. I want to kind of slope it in into the interior a little bit so we get a nice join. Speed up. And turn around 2,000, 2,100 RPM. Bevel pointed in the direction we want to go. Oops, shit. Wow, it's okay to swear, right? Just gonna break that corner in there, and if we see, do we got a nice easy join there? No, I gotta clean that up. Not yet. That one may not be the best. This might not be the best. I'm going to switch back to the skew for this. Having a hard time seeing things. Take my glasses off for a minute. Need to sand that a little bit, but let's grab a little scrap piece of sandpaper. I'm just sanding this edge that's breaking away a little bit, and let's see how that works. That's a bit better join, and then we can clean that up. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to leave that in there, and we're going to clean this surface up, and remember where our mark is here. In fact, we'll just mark that. It's going to be the end of our box, and we'll bring the tailstock up. This time, we are going to use a little bit different tailstock adapter. Some tailstocks, but not all, have an interchangeable cone like this one. And with that, I'm able to create any sort of other cone adapters or tailstock adapters I want. So, but first what I'm going to do is just quickly do this, just to clean up this top edge. This is, you know, if I just leave it, this is going to rotate when I cut it, so I just want to briefly do this. And just move this back out of the way for a second. I want to clean this edge up here. What did I do with those? There they are. See if that gets a better view. So I'm just going to round this corner a little bit. And just using this little spindle gouge. The tool rest is a bit high, but it's fine. Let's try that. There. So I'm undercutting it a bit, so this should sit standing up, and it'll look nice that way. I'm gonna fix this corner; it's a little rough. Yeah. Gonna hold this against it, and we'll see if we got a little hollow under there. We do. So a little bit of sandpaper, and maybe one cut right in the middle there. It's always one more cut. Okay. Oh, we got Good Turn Daily. Good Turn Daily. How you doing? Good, nice to meet you. Oops, I can't spell when I'm up here. Hi there. Thanks for coming. I appreciate everybody chiming in. So, first live stream, it's working. So, I don't have, well, I have sandpaper, but I don't have, I don't really want to spend time sanding a whole bunch in front of you folks. So, I'll do just a little bit. This is really more about the turning process, and not really so much about sanding. So, do that, and I've got a little bit actually here, I think. A little bit more. I'll just do a little bit because I do want it to look nice, but I really do need that light on it. I can't see very well. Excuse me. I'll go cam 3. That's blinding you out, but I just need it for a second to see. I still have turning marks in there. So the first one I think was either 80 or 100 grit, and this I think is 150. That's better. Do that, and then 120, 220. I will do a little sanding, just decided. 120 back to the 150. And then 220. Okay, so now what I want to do is use this, take that out of there, use this little wooden cone center. I don't want to put that there, but I think what I'll do is I'll put a little piece of tape on the end there. Just tighten it up like that. And then we can take that away and cut the rest of it, or turn. Okay, so let's use this skew first. We'll go across and clean up this whole cylinder. Let me just mark this and just tell me where to end. So the skew is great for cleaning up a surface like this. And what I really need to do is make this a little bit more, the tool rest, more parallel. So I'll get a more parallel cut. Cutting with the bottom, third of the skew blade. Moving my body across. Shifting while moving my body. By that I mean shifting my weight from right leg to left leg, just kind of swaying back and forth. So, and if you get the overhead view, you'll see, well, first of all, side view. So the tool is down against my hip and resting on the rest, my hand on top, and I'm just sliding my body. So overhead view, kind of same thing, same motion. But here you can kind of just see my grip slides across the tool rest. I don't really change the attitude of my hand along the rest. I just keep it steady and move my body. So that leaves just a perfectly smooth surface. So, and this is where you can see that join, really kind of starts to get hidden. And this is the importance of having those surfaces, those face of that cut undercut, so only the rim touches basically. So that's it there. Now I'm just going to shape and part off down here. Like I'll just part off, and then we'll have to create a jam chuck and a plug for the bottom. So let me just move this over just a little bit. So we are, let's see, so we could shape this outer profile the way you want to. Again, like you could do a nice cove, you could do a bunch of beads, you could do barrel shape, kind of whatever you want. I'm just going to leave this a cylinder because I'm probably going to maybe do another tutorial on surface decoration with this. Maybe it's a nice small piece, like this butterfly here was done first burned and then colors added to it. So and then some shadow burning around the outside to kind of, that's a piece of sycamore. It's a little harder to and this is mahogany, so open pored woods are a little bit more difficult to burn or use a pyrography pen because of the grain kind of catches you and stuff. But it'll be just fine. So it's good practice to practice burning on softer woods and stuff that is kind of a practice piece such as this is. So next is to part it off right about here. So we are getting a little shy on material, so I'll probably make this, yeah, I'll just do it right there. I'll widen it up a little bit with some of the box. And let me shine a light down in there. So again, we'll do the same thing. We'll cut down to about 1/4 inch and then part it off and let it drop in our hand when we moving the tailstock out of the way. So if you part off between centers like this and let it go free, it's going to jam on you and just start spinning and thrown everywhere. So it's best to move the tailstock out of the way and part off in your hand like we're about to do. So I think before I part off though, I will just briefly do this while I'm here. That just starts that cut for me. I'll do the rest on the jam chuck. So okay. Put that back in its place, and again over the top. Tool in one hand, finger kind of on top, and slowly move your gouge into place. And it drops off. So there's our little box so far. That tape, hopefully, got a little mark in it, but we'll hopefully be able to sand that out. So now we've got that part set the top aside. We have to make a jam chuck, jam that on there so we can fit that end. So so we need 1 1/4 width. So we'll just sneak up on it here. For jam chucks, I create a little taper on the very first little bit, and that will allow us, let me see if I can, let me put myself on the other side. So hopefully this view is good. Let's see what this camera looks like. That's a little far away. We'll just go there. So I'm making this jam chuck with a slight taper so that I can fit it. So there we go. We hold it there, we get those black lines, burn marks basically, and that tells us our depth of cut. So a little bit more right there. And it's a little tight. Still too tight. This is a finicky part of the process where you just have to kind of be patient because it's an important part. You can't jam this on there securely, then well, you have to try again or find a different way to finish off your bottom. That is just a little bit tight. That's all it takes sometimes, is just a little. Oh, it's still a little bit too tight. I think it might have gone over. Nope. Good. It's a little bit out. A little bit better. So now we're back to cutting this end. We are going to try and kind of match this sort of surface here. Slightly rounded and a little indented, so this will sit on a tabletop. Now, working on a jam chuck like this, you have to be aware of that and make very small cuts. I can't really go at this full force. For fear of knocking off the jam chuck. So I'd make 10 or so little cuts like that rather than one large cut. And hearing things is important, especially in turning, being able to hear that sound rattle around and stuff. So it looks pretty smooth on the interior. We got to get this corner going. So there we go. That should hopefully be taking care of the torn out grain. So that looks okay. We will sand that up. And what we'll also do is I'm going to make a little cut right there, just so we can't tell the difference between the top and the bottom. So that will be, can't see it, I have to draw it. That should be enough to see it. And there it is, so just a little line like that, and that should be good. Now, turn the speed down. We turn the speed down for sanding because otherwise the sandpaper ends up burning too much and burning the wood and doesn't allow the wood to cut. Sandpaper is a cutting tool just like many others, like all these gouges beside me, so you gotta let the sandpaper do its thing. So I'm down just about over 1,000 RPM. On a smaller piece like that, that's fine. If your piece gets larger, turn the speed down even more. It's really all about surface feet per minute, or how much speed the surface is going around. So that was 180 going to 220, or sorry, 120. Yeah, 120. So that was 80 I had. And I'm only doing the end because at this point with this paper, we're going to feather in. This is all smooth already, so the skew allows you to start sanding that stuff probably at around, oops, that was 220. I need to do 150 first. Probably at 220, so I'll finish it off at 220. So we'll go whole thing at 220. And looks pretty close. Looks good. So that's that done. So that's really all we need on that guy. We'll just do a little bit of hand sanding on the edge here. It's always good to follow up with sanding with the grain like this. It looks like I'm filling that in or erasing it, but it's just sanding dust filling the crack there. It's almost like I'm erasing that line. It's kind of cool, but it's just sanding dust. And oh, we got somebody else online. Hey Todd, Jeff here. Hey Jeff. Oh, Jeff Edwards. How you doing, Jeff? Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. This is kind of a test for me for doing, my first sort of live stream feed to YouTube, and also prepping for a live club meeting for our Dallas area woodturners here in a couple of weeks. So that's the box so far. So now we have to fix this end. So now we need basically a jam chuck on there for that size. So we'll use this same jam chuck and make it fit the interior of this, and then you'll see what happens. We'll glue that in. You're gonna go, why would you want to glue that in? Well, we'll show you. Essentially what we're making is this part now, and so now we got to make this plug out of that piece, and we'll just glue it in. That's how you create the bottom of the box. So same process with creating a smaller tenon. We kind of do need to move this parallel. Oh, look at that, was too big. I just got a little too excited on that one. So we'll just cut that away. And one thing to remember is that this surface here is going to be the inside of the box, so you will be able to feel it. So you do want to have that, oops, there's the picture. It's the inside of the box there, so you do want to kind of have that a nice smooth texture. You don't want to leave that bump on there that I had or anything else. So I'm going to clean that up with a gouge, just so that we can have that nice, if I can do that. Okay, I'm too far away I can't see, and this is going too slow. There we go, much better. So I'll do a quick sand on that. I'll just skip to 150 and 220. There we go, and then let's try this again. So we want just a little bit less than that. Speed back up. Oh, did it again. Not quite close. And there we go. So that's what we want to do. So in prepping for gluing that on, I'm going to just trim this down a little bit. So because that is where we're going to part it off. So got a little bit of glue and activator here, so just some super glue and some activator. So we'll stick some glue on here. Yeah, makes sense, right? Is it clogged up? Oh. Now it's coming out. There we go. Plenty of glue. And I'll put that over here. Spray the activator inside the box. You're probably thinking to yourself, what is he doing? Why is he gluing that on there? How are you supposed to get into the box? Well, that's the secret we'll show in a few minutes here. Oops. Let me keep that on there. And I'll just spray it. Oh, hopefully this glue isn't old. It doesn't seem to be one to catch. I think it's going off now. Anyway, so as this dries, we'll explain the next part, and that should be okay there. So now we need to get this in there, right? First we got to part that off, and we'll cut that off. We get that in there. So let me go grab that that thing I need. I'll be right back. I'm just heading over to my I don't know what you call it, lumber yard, wood stash, and place I keep my jigs, and one more little piece here. Don't know where my other piece went. Okay, I'm back. I'll show you this stuff in a second. So okay, that's glued up. So let's part that off, and we'll get on to the next stage. So away we go. We want to part off, obviously, on this side, headstock, that side of the glue line. So we want to part off right on the glue line, sort of thing. So hopefully it doesn't fly up on us and it's glued enough. Kind of wanting to try and get rid of that glue line a little bit, but Put the light in there. Again, before I part it all the way off, I'm just going to fix this up a little bit. And we're parting down 1/8 of an inch, and I'm cutting against the bottom, and there we go. So we've got a pretty rough bottom here, but we can sand that up a little bit. Just take my skew. You're not seeing this, but off camera I'm holding this close to my chest so I can operate the skew as just a cut-off knife, if you will, and just cut that off. So what I would do is I would get a sanding disc on here, and gosh, I think I got one close by. So do I need this anymore? No, I don't. So let's clean off a few tools. Need that, need this. Don't need this anymore, actually. Don't think. So let's put that away. Put this out of the way. And the piece of wood I had was too small to put a 10 in, so I just grabbed the square with the chuck, and take this off. Put that away. I've got this guy on here. It's a spindle adapter. That little chuck I was using was a little Nova chuck for the 1 inch by 8 threads per inch spindle, and this Powermatic is 1 1/4 by 8, so it's handy having this spindle adapter around. Because I still do use and have my mini lathe, which is set up with, oh, before I do that, let me let's see if I can reach this guy. So this is a little threaded piece of wood block. Oh, hey, let's widen out here a little bit. There you go. Threads right onto my spindle, and I can just use it and sand that bottom smooth a little bit. Just about there. Looks good. And a little bit of hand sanding just to get rid of some of the fuzzies. And box is almost done. So now let's take this off. And one more piece of sanding gear. So this is kind of handy, having a threaded sanding disc like that. And now, oh, lost my headphone pack. It fell off my back and pulled the microphone. So I still got sound, right? Yes, I still see sound coming through, so good. So little spur drive center there, still got my cup center there. Here is a little sanding drum, so I'll mount that between centers, and this is how we're going to make that opening. So it's just a dowel, 1-inch dowel with some strips of sandpaper wrapped around it, and just it's a little, I don't think I got that mounted quite right in here. That's better. This is running, bouncing, not bouncing now. I just want to clean this off a little bit. This is a little bit crepe sandpaper cleaner. Hopefully I didn't. Oh, there we go. So now we take our little piece and we're gonna sand a little hole in it, just like that, and that'll make this little piece right here. Zoop, just like that. So things to think about. Whereabouts do you want that hole? Is there any sort of defect in the wood you want to hide, or is there any anything else you want to look at in terms of where to put it? One of the things you may want to do with this is when you put it together. I'll show you. I'll show you that later. But you need to orient it some way. So I typically like to put the hole kind of in line with the grain, so it kind of gives you an arrow pointing to where the opening is. So I will put it right there. So you just gotta kind of start it and judge where you're gonna sand that opening at. Okay, so I want to go down a little bit further. So should wear a dust mask doing this. I don't have one because I'm demonstrating, but certainly in your own shops there's a lot of dust. So you can see we're getting through now, and our hole is kind of sitting in the middle. So use your judgment where you want to go. Also hold this square. You don't want to tilt it one way or the other. Well, I mean, you may want to have a different kind of opening. So, but I hold it square to the wood, so I'll find a fresh piece of sandpaper. And I'll rotate it kind of slightly to kind of open it up a bit. And oh yeah, it's getting dusty. There you go. The opening is starting to open up. So we can take these little pieces, depending on how big you want to make the opening. I think that's pretty good for this small box. So I'll get a little roll of sandpaper. I'll just roll this guy up a little bit. And sand around to there. Get that little rim in there. Get that Klingon in there. I don't know. There we go. I think that's pretty much done that part. Just kind of sand up a little bit. Where's the other half now? There it is. We have a little box. So that's the piston box, as I call it. Let me just bear with me a second. There. So that's the little piston box. I think Walt Wager called it a purse box, but I see it more as a piston style box. It's a bit more manly. I don't know, but I think he called it a purse box because he made it for his wife, and it's a good little box to throw in the purse. Spare change this size, probably good for pills, stuff like that. So directionally wise, on let me see, on this one, not that one, that one, you'll see in the top. Well, I can't point that direction, but there we go. In the top, I got those 3 little dots burnt in the top, and that tells me where the opening is. Because one thing you don't want to do is open it when the opening is facing down. Because if you open it and that's down, all your stuff's going to fall out. So put a little mark right here. A little I do 3 dots. Represents an arrow. Easy to do and burning. I don't know if that's showing up, but there you go. But that's someplace, some way to kind of orient how your box is going to be. Well, that's it for me. I think that's the Purse Box by Todd Rains, and oh boy, I got to figure out which one I want to do. There we go, turning a piston box. So I'm glad. Oh, look at me. Let me check the comments here for quickly. So, oh hey Billy, good to see you on here. I'm glad you joined. This is my first foray into live streaming, so hopefully it went well. What does he say? Hey Todd, what I miss? Close. Okay. You need Shelly in your ear telling you what the comments are and repeating questions. Yes, I do. Having a co-host, if you will, is kind of handy. But right now it's kind of a one-man show. And this is kind of practice. We're going to do some live interactive remote demos. I'm doing one in a couple of weeks for my club, and I'll have a co-host on for that, and they can manage comments or chats and spotlighting people. We're going to be using Zoom for that, so it won't be a live stream to YouTube. It'll be just a Zoom meeting for members. But this live streaming to YouTube, I'm going to do more of this, so I will have to, you have to bear with me as I learn how to use the YouTube interface and watch for stuff. So Billy, you didn't miss, you missed, I guess, I don't know what time you came in, but this is the demo we made, the Purse Box, or the Piston Box. So there's all different kinds of shapes of ones you can do, like I showed up here. It's a sort of a plain one again, and that's kind of what the mahogany one I have in my hand will look like once I put finish on it. That one opens up. It's got a bigger hole. There's my butterfly box that was in the auction, Christmas auction for the club a couple years ago, and that's standing up. And I do have a couple other. I don't have them loaded up here, so. But this sort of method applies to bigger boxes. If you did, in fact, I did a big box a couple years ago. Basically, it's a same technique. Drill a bigger hole, make another bigger hole fit that smaller cylinder as a piston box. So you can make all kinds of things. So anyway, that's going to be a wrap. Let me just check the comments one more. James, hey James, I'm doing good. Yes, I am using vMix, and learning how to do it. I've got. Let me show you one thing. Let me see if I can do this. Let me cut to for people that are interested in how I'm doing this and what I'm doing. I know it's something we've been learning about. I'm going to grab this camera and show you a bit of the setup. So on my lathe headstock, I've got a Stream Deck that does a bunch of push buttons so I can change camera angles and stuff quickly and put overlays on or off. And then that Stream Deck is connected to my laptop up there. The camera inputs all go into this guy, the A10 Mini, and I can switch cameras there too. But I typically do it on the Stream Deck because it's got everything in there. So camera 3, and then here I've just got a small monitor where I can record. I'm recording locally, a local version that doesn't have the vMix overlays. Next to my camera, my computer, is my second monitor that has vMix on it. So over here in this laptop monitor, I've got the YouTube interface, and then vMix over here. So, and then next to that, my main camera for my smiley face. Let me do this. There we go. So that's my main camera. And then I've got studio lights, and then the second camera mount is here at the headstock. And the overhead is, don't get vertigo, but is up here. It's a little camcorder. So, and that's it. And then, of course, behind me, you've got the big green screen. So that's how I'm able to get this picture-in-picture keyed out with me standing in the way, and I can go full screen. So that's the setup. Let me switch back to this camera so I don't get everybody sick with my moving that camera around. And so that camera I was just holding is my iPhone 6. It works as a great HDMI camera, so the little dongle. Just check. Good project. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Billy, cool stuff. Thank you. And yeah, James, I am using vMix. Hope you and Shelley are well. We are staying safe, buddy. So I'm glad to hear that, Billy. You know, dear, you and your family and all your children and grandchildren are doing good. Keep them safe, and goes for everybody on the live stream. You know, this whole virus thing is kicking about, and it's got us a lot of people doing live streams from the home. So enjoy yourself. That's it for me. Thanks very much, and I'm going to end the live stream now. If you have any comments or questions, please post them on YouTube or send me an email. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And if you have, if you want to subscribe to the channel, and we'll be doing more of these. Hopefully I can get at least one every 2 weeks, if not quicker. I do have other stuff to do besides this, but this is fun. So thanks again, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Out from Allen, Texas. Todd Rains here at Woodturning Tool Store. We'll talk to you soon in the next video. Thanks.